In this lesson, we'll continue our pond simulation by changing some of the settings. Okay, so I've animated all of the button presses with this locator here and the wake parented to it. And now what we want to do is take a look at how the simulation looks. So let's go back to the outliner and turn on the pond and just move it to fill the screen. If it's not big enough, just make sure that you have all the screen covered. And once we've done that, we can see that the pond simulation is taking place, which is good, although we'll need to tweak some of these settings. So let's go to 5 for shaded view. And in the playback settings, I want to make sure we're on real time, because sometimes if your simulation is pretty low res, you'll actually be watching it faster than real time. So this way we can see sort of how it's going to look. Okay, so we can see that's okay, but it's a little crazy. These ripples sort of never die. They're sort of creating a muddy mess, really. When we have lots of button presses happen, they sort of join together and just create this whirlwind of ripples. So what we want to do is sort of make this liquid a lot thicker, so that the ripples die out quite a bit quicker and create a more defined button press. So we can go to the settings in the attribute editor for this, and let's go down to dynamic simulations, where the settings are, and let's crank the viscosity up to 1, and let's lower the gravity as well. Normally you can, when you're simulating liquids, you can go simulate a viscosity higher than 1, but not here in the pond. But what we can do to compensate for that is to lower the gravity. And I'm also going to turn up the friction a bit so that these ripples just don't freely travel around forever. And let's actually crank the dampening up to 0.1 and see how we go now. That's looking a lot better. The only problem we have now is that it kind of looks like towards the end the character really slams the ground when the desk when he does the swipe. But if we actually have a look at the footage, we can see that it's quite gentle. So what we might want to do is go back to wireframe mode and go to the point in time where we have this. You can see the character very gently touches the desk, but we have quite a large wake here. So what we want to do is, for that last button press, we will want it to sort of not start out so high. So if we go to the channel box editor, you can see that it starts at a Y value of 1. Let's make it lower at a value of maybe 0.2 and just hope that that's actually high enough to not cause a wake on its own beforehand. And let's restart the playback and just see. Okay, that still was quite high. So now what we will do is maybe just keyframe the power of this wake on that first frame, or on the first few frames, so that it's not so intense. So under the locator we have the wake, and this attribute editor has a power, have the density, and what we want to do is keep it. I think the simulations at the start look great, so we'll keep it at 10. But for this bit here, let's just key this attribute and maybe have it halved for this last one. So let's see how that looks. That looked a lot better. I think once we have the value of 5 to start out with, let's actually lower that to a value of 2 but bring it up a bit higher as the character swipes. So let's bring it back to a value of 10. And what I'll actually do is increase it to 13 beforehand. So let's see how we go now. Looked a little bit strong there, so let's just select the wake again. And so we have a value of 2 at the start. I'm going to bring this back to maybe 9, because I just think it was a little bit intense. And then let's go to a value of 1 here, and then a value of 10. Sorry, let's lower this also. Let's go 7. And let's see how this looks. That was still too strong, so let's go outliner, wake emitter, and you can see that it's increasing as it sits here. So let's keep it still at a value of 2, and then for those that final drag, let's bring it back to 10. Because when it's sitting there, we had the keyframes increasing, and that's why it had such a powerful, strong wake. So let's see how we go now. These are all looking good. Okay, so that was okay. At the start, we had an appropriate sized wake, but would like to increase the size a bit more afterwards. So let's go back and maybe just cut this keyframe and paste it a little bit earlier. That looked pretty good. Maybe a little bit strong. Let's go 2 and maybe 10, 12. That looks good. Now what we want to do is create a cache for this. So let's go up to Fluid and Cache and create a new cache. And I have one already, but I'm just going to replace it. Cool, and let's go modify, convert fluid to polygons. Now let's smooth out our mesh by hitting 3, and that will subdivide it twice. And what we want to do is come into the render settings. We want to use OpenEXR with zip compression. We want name.number.extension and 1 to 214. And we want this camera here. Let's go into the render passes, and what we want is the object normals. And this will allow us to basically distort our plate based on the normals of this geometry here. So let's create the object normal object space and associate that. And what we'll need to do is change the frame buffer to float for that render pass. And let's also just bump up the quality a bit. And that should be it. We don't need ray tracing, so let's go ahead and render this. So batch render, and once this is done, we will composite our footage, motion design, and object normals to create the final effect.